Welcome. Thank you for joining us for this live streamed Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northfield. My name is Susie Weinbeck, and my husband Wyman and I have been members for a little over 4 years. UUFN is an inclusive community that nurtures spiritual and intellectual growth and fosters ethical and social responsibility. We're continuing to be grateful to be gathering both online and in person today, and we extend a warm welcome to everyone, both on Zoom and in the sanctuary. If you are a visitor, we are glad you are with us, and we invite you to stay after the service to get acquainted. We welcome your questions and look forward to hearing about you. We are mindful that we gather today with different needs. Whatever brings you here, you are welcome to come as you are and take what feeds you. Please know that technical difficulties may arise, yet we offer our best efforts, not with the goal of perfection, but to allow us to connect with one another while keeping our community safe. Our opening words today are from Leslie Takahashi. We gather as many drops, each winding our own path, down life's surfaces and ruts. Here we pool together as a single body, flowing together for a time. Together we are a stream, at times even a river, for with our shared force we can travel toward oceans of meaning and seas of connection. Come, let us worship together. The flaming chalice is the symbol of the Unitarian Universalism, a beacon of light and warmth. Each Sunday when we gather, we bring this symbol to life together. Please join me in speaking the words on your screen as we light the chalice, as Connie lights the chalice, the symbol of our faith. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another. Please rise in body or spirit for our upcoming hymn, number 314, We Are Children of the Earth. train goes on, we continue to set aside a few moments of prayer and reflection to stand in support for peace. Today, we share with you a video with the song, Light a Candle for Peace. It was part of an initiative a few years ago in the Montessori schools where they teach their students about different cultures around the world to encourage them to gain respect for and understanding of people of many backgrounds.
Light a candle for peace, light a candle for love, light a candle that shines all the way around the world. Light a candle for me, light a candle for you, that our wish for world peace will one day come true. Light a candle for peace, light a candle for love, light a candle that shines all the way around the world. Light a candle for me, light a candle for you, that our wish for world peace will one day come true. Sing peace around the world. 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 Light a candle for peace, light a candle for love, light a candle that shines all the way around the world. Light a candle for me, light a candle for you, that our wish for world peace will one day come true.
Each week we gather, we carry the sorrows and celebrations of our own lives. I will read aloud the joys and sorrows written on the note cards here in the sanctuary, as well as those entered earlier into chat on Zoom. Connie will light a candle here in the sanctuary in honor of all the simple joys that are sustaining us. She will light another candle in honor of the sorrows and hardships we might be carrying. Joys and sorrows we carry in our hearts but have not spoken aloud. Thank you, Connie. I invite us now to take a few unhurried breaths as we share a moment of silence together, a silence of your understanding, holding our own lives and the world in our hearts. I am delighted to introduce our speaker today. Ricky Defoe is a pipe carrier and sweat lodge keeper and a member of the Fond du Lac Band of Superior, Chippewa. He currently works as a language and curriculum specialist within Fond du Lac Reservation's Ojibwe Language Revitalization Program and serves on the board of Water Legacy. Over the years, he has served on many committees and commissions to advance the opportunities for Indigenous and peoples of all colors and ages in his own region as well as internationally. His volunteer work has helped preserve and educate others about the Ojibwe language in many centers, jails, hospitals, and hospices in the community. We thank him for his service in so many and varied ways that benefit all of us, including the U.S. Army, National Guard. It is my honor to welcome him here to talk with us today. Welcome, Mr. Defoe.
Thank you. Nashkio a kimani tuminan inga gwejima chiwiduko wado ma sanungam wani ekadoyan niwita jindam bangige go sa Anishinaabe king Anishinaabe jitwanan Anishinaabe jichigang oma akoe ase ma ke Anishinaabe Anishinaabe apne go ogaganuna manito dibishku manungam ha manito kishe manito shweni ma shin minoa widukaw shin chekwe ko nendamo yano manungam megwa ungo nijibi matazig gaji bizindaw yek miguch kinamenek ego gimijian Anishinaaben bimataziwen o ki jigakae manito anamika gaginoa minoa dash Ricky Defoe indiji gikenimiko shaganashimo. Welcome, good morning to you all. I'm really glad to be here. I'm honored to be here. And I'm certainly glad that you have taken time out of your life and your moment to be here in circle. I've been asked to sound out some ways of thought. But before I do that, I want to acknowledge those mysteries that are in the four quarters of the universe, the sky, the grandfathers, our Mother Earth, the grandmothers. We acknowledge those ones, and we have much gratitude for the life that we've been given in this moment that we got together. So this is our center of the universe, our center of the cosmos. And we hear much talk about where are we in that, and what part are we part of the balance, part of the harmony, or are we part of some things that throw things in chaos? Those are some questions we need to ask ourselves. But for us as indigenous peoples, and myself as an Anishinaabe man, I had to understand that the language that we're using now is an immigrant language. It's a foreign language. It's a settler language. And we strive to revitalize and reclaim indigenous language, particularly Anishinaabe Moan, Ojibwe Moan, to understand the world through that language, an indigenous language. And Wewin is something that reverberates and echoes through the atmosphere, through the cosmos. So we want to return to that understanding and way of communicating with those that are all around. We often think about the problems that are inherent in the world that we've been born into. This world is a very violent world, a very xenophobic, sexist world. So we find troubles in this world that we've been born into. We have no say over this when we first come in, but we have influence and we have relationships. So we want to build upon those. And we recognize some things that are working and some things that are not working. And for me, as an Ojibwe man here on Fond du Lac, which is a French word, our way of describing is Nagajuanam, the place where the current stops, a place on a river. So we have that connection in a worldview. So I want to talk a little bit about a cosmology, the way we see the world and our worldview. Cosmologies are deeply rooted, symbolically expressed understandings of humanness, and they predate all other forms of human expression, including religious, social, and political orders. Indigenous worldviews and or perceptions of this world and our relationship within are centered around the cycles of nature, the behavior of the animals, the growth of the plants, and all things that are interrelated within that. This here determines our culture and our way of living. A true democracy when all things are interrelated, interwoven, that we are dependent upon others. This exceptionalism and way of seeing ourselves as this cosmos is man-centric is a problem. And also, first I want to sound out some things about our way of seeing the world. We know that things to be whole, we have to include the unseen. We talk about the moon and the far side of the moon we're not able to see, but we know it's there, so we have to include the unseen. We have limits to what we can see by our senses. So in Ojibwe, we talk about a manisawin, beyond those senses because of those limitations. And so it is with spirit and physical to include the unseen when we do things. So the unseen includes Chimanitu, Gije Manitu Aking, this place where the great mysteries abide. We cannot see those, but we know they're there. We're amongst them now when we are here. And then we come to see some things. We see the star world and all of the galaxies and things that we're able to see nowadays. We come a little bit closer to our Mother Earth, and then we're able to see the sun. In our language, Gi Mishu Misanan, our, yours and mine, grandfather. And then we see, as time, natural law progresses, we see the moon rise and set. Debiki Gi Zis Nuka Misanan, our grandmother. And those two control the seasons that we have. And then we sit upon our Mother Earth. A concept of a Mother Earth was troublesome for the ones that came from afar to these lands. These concepts of seeing something as we belong to this earth. The earth does not belong to us, that she is the source of life, not a resource. So we understand there are orders of things that come to be on our Mother Earth. We know that the Rock Nation, the mountains, were here first. An English way of seeing rocks as inanimate, that they do not have spirit in things. We see how the rock moves across the deserts, and we have evidence of that movement, but yet we don't believe. Indigenous peoples Asanig, the rock nation, is alive. So it is that we see these things that were here first, the rock nation, the mountains and things, they give the stability to Anishinaabe people, indigenous, the first peoples. And then next came the seedlings, the grasses, the bushes, the trees, and they give us the oxygen, life. And then next was placed here was the animals, the flyers, the walkers, the swimmers, the crawlers, and all others, so that we have brotherhood. And those things were placed here first. Last was Anishinaabe. In our language, Anishinaabe. We were placed here, we were lowered here. Nowhere in our oral histories or traditions does it talk about coming across the Bering Strait. It talks about not only the creation story, but the migration story to be here where the food grows on water.
10
So
minutes.
these things compel us to center ourselves in this cosmos. So we can't live without those, but they can live without us. So it is in this way. I think that it's important to remember in indigenous cosmology also that we have kinship ties, which are very important to how do we center ourselves and how do we relate to those ones. So both to the living and to the dead, because there are places to remember those ancestors of ours and the importance of them, the ones that gave us the teaching. And there's also dwelling places where that we can be and listen to those in those divine moments, those dwelling places. And it's very important to see that worldview and that cosmology. The problem is that you and I have been socialized into a worldview that's dysfunctional and unsustainable. And it shapes the modern human's perception of the world as material rather than spiritual. This paradigm, if you will, has three pieces to it. A dominion over all things. We've heard that before. We have dominion, meaning dominance over all things. Anishinaabe live by natural law and spiritual law. It is only when man-made law comes that we have the problems. So we have a concept, we have a worldview that says dominion over all things. Then there's a hierarchy of life, where in this country we have man at the top and the woman is below the man. And then the black man is at the bottom and all things are at the bottom. We've seen the great chain of being and how the hierarchy of life is in this country that we've been socialized into and indoctrinated into. Also, we have in that root paradigm is a male transcendent God. In our language, we don't know if the great mystery is male or female. And I asked that question before of the scholars in other religions. And they said, no, we defer to the great mystery as a man. So I asked, is that in that deference, is that where the oppression comes to women in this country that we live in and which is dominating the global world? So that is unsustainable. This lifestyle that stems from that worldview as a source rather than a source of life, but a resource that we can have dominion over those things really becomes a problem, because in our society we look to those that have the monies and things as our aspiration, and we know that the elite lifestyle is full of decadence and the debauchery. It's filled with that debauchery in the way of carrying oneself, and this despicable avarice, this greed for wealth is unsustainable. And those things need to be understood, because the current trajectory that we're on will push us over the edge, because we know that for life to be, we've got to have earth, wind, fire, and water. All of those things are being polluted now with the current lifestyle and the current ways of dealing with our Mother Earth. So I think with a kinship, a closer kinship, to understand that we come from our mother and we'll return to our mother, that because we have that, not only a generational, not only a community, not only tribal, but we also have those responsibilities to nurture and care for the spirit of our mother. So these things are generational and indigenous way of seeing that world. So that's why we protect those things that are critical for life, for all peoples, not just the Anishinaabe, the original peoples, but for all peoples, even the ones that have unjust enrichment in a system that is oppressive. So we have to realize that you and I have been colonized. We're born into a world that's racist, and we're born into a cosmology. And all of those institutions that we have today are based on that cosmology that's dysfunctional. So you have your cosmology, you have your philosophy, you have your values, and you have your actions that follow those values. Those are your institutions. And we see now that they're detrimental to and very dangerous to humanity and to life. So recognition is the first thing, that we're all colonized. Recognition that your mind, my mind, is colonized. And how do we free ourselves from that colonization? And do we recognize what is our hindrance to that recognition? And we know that privilege is one of those hindrances. So how do we re-spiritualize something that's despiritualized? Those are the
5 minutes.
challenges. So I think it's important to recenter each of us in our in your cosmology, our cosmology. So we say as indigenous peoples to think alike, that we see this common homeland of all peoples, that it's in peril. Listen to the mother. She's crying of all the pillaging and the damaging that's happening, the destruction. And so that takes quietness, to be in quiet moments, to hear those things, to free yourself of the noise, the politics that happen, that unjust privileges and unjust enrichments that come because of the politics. Free yourself from that noise. Be with Mother Nature, because nature and culture are actual realities. This anthropogenic economic exchanges that we find ourselves in today is an illusion. This will not bring happiness or wellness for your children or grandchildren. We have to recognize these things for what they are. Mother Nature is a healer. We have ways of smudging naturally in the rain, in the wind. We know that the fire cleanses. We know that the earth cleanses. So go near to those places. And that's why we hold water is critical to life. So I just wanted to share a few of those things with you today. And I want to thank each of you for being here, taking time out of your precious life to be here with us and to hear these humble words. It's important that we as Indigenous people protect our intellectual properties, but it's also important that we get that out to the masses so that we can together, we have a way of changing the collective psychosis that's going on in this world today. And it's loving people like you and others that can make this happen and have the influence today. So thank you for hearing me this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking with us today and for sharing this very important message. I do believe we have some time for questions, and this is new for all of us in a multi-platform setting, so we will try this and take it slowly. In the sanctuary, please raise your hand, and Connie will come to you with a microphone if you have a question. And if you are on Zoom and you have a question, just type your name into the chat and I will call on you and you can ask you can unmute yourself and ask the question. So does anyone have a question? No. Which was very good and grateful for your words today. I have the privilege to be part of a community up in the Rainy Lake Basin, and we often are lucky enough to hear some of the wisdom from our elder and residents, Pagonies, we call them Pagon. Anyways, so your words today just help reinforce some of the knowledge that I'm trying to learn through our own elder, and I'm just very appreciative of the effort that you are making to share the wisdom with the rest of us. I believe we have someone on Zoom that has a question, someone named Ted.
Thank you for your gifts. I'm wondering if you know a gentleman named, oh dear. The guy who's, no, he's a sculptor with the red stone. Jeff Savage was his English name. I went to junior high and high school with him. And when I knew Jeff, he was an incredibly talented artist. He was quite small in stature as I am. And many years ago, I ran into him in a bar in Duluth, and he was a giant and still a gentle soul. So do you know Jeff Savage?
Yes, I know Jeff. Yes.
Well,
Yes,
please,
I know him.
please give him my best.
You bet.
And thank him for his artwork.
Okay. I see on the screen it's Kristen, but your name is?
I'm Kristen's housekeeper.
Oh.
I'm her husband.
Who should I tell Jeff that you're?
Yeah.
Ted Tollefson.
Ted Tollefson.
Okay,
And is he
Ted,
still
right.
working in Pipestone?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful.
Matter of fact, the pipe that I carry that was given to me by an old man is sculpted by Jeff.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So
He's
that's
a man
some of the
with
influence that we have, yes.
Thank you.
I just want to quickly thank you for allowing us to see ourselves also as colonized, and that we are in that
Mhm.
that framework together. As just a really deeply effective and skillful talk. Thank you.
We have someone on Zoom that's written a question. Did you want to ask this yourself, Lynn and John?
Sure. Hi, Ricky.
Hi, John.
My question is, to meet the challenges, extreme challenges of the climate crisis facing us, do we need to turn to new ways, such as green technology, or do we need to return to the old ways of our forebears, such as conservation and respect for all life?
Well, I think it needs to be a concerted effort, and the sooner the better from all peoples. With climate crisis, there's a kind of a mix of urgency and seeing things that are long term. So when we get a concerted effort on both of those, change the collective consciousness of a people to start with that, and to see and to recognize that we're in something that's heating up and the extinctions is happening. So the recognition is a key. Identifying it is a key. We see the earth stressed. We see the anxiety that's filled. We see the chaos and the conflict and the tension that's in this world now today globally. And it stems from that cosmology that's dysfunctional that we're hanging on to. And I think it's a serious problem. So the green technology is welcomed, and we've got to push beyond the politics of it and see it for what it is, because politics has really gotten crazy, and there's words for that describe that the most lunatics are at the forefront of the politics. So there's a lot of ticking going on there.
Miigwech, Ricky.
You betcha, John. Thank you.
Naomi has a question.
I'm just wondering if you'd had more time. What is it you wish you'd said? Because I always feel that way when I've done something. It was like, oh, I wish I'd been able to.
Oh, additional things that need to be said was, I think what was really important is that the young children, when we have moments of the elders crying and struggling and tired, that the young ones see those things and be there when the moments are happening. Not only the sorrowful moments, but the joyful moments when they can speak about these things with eloquence. Because I think when we travel, we see the young people that are in these depressed countries, that and oppressed countries, that they are the most eloquent speakers, and they grasped all those concepts that we in America take for granted, and that only in the academic world can speak about. So it is when they're close by, they are listening. So that relationship is integral. In our worldview, we talk about the great-grandparents, the grandparents, the parents. We're in the center. And then we have our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. Those are the 7 generations. And also to recognize that because we love our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, that doesn't make the teachings absolute. That we can actually analyze what we've been taught, and for that era, and was it the correct teaching? Because we know that in the 50s there was much racism, and continues still today, but the way that we're taught to see each other, and those things. So I think the recognition of that, it doesn't mean we don't love our grandparents and great grandparents and parents, but we have to see it for what it really is. And the native scholars say that we live in the shadow of the real world. So we've got to see the world for what it is. And it's an illusion. So our challenge is to right side an upside down world. And so thank you for that opportunity, Naomi.
We have a question from Paula.
There we go. It sort of builds on what you just said, Ricky. If we're looking at what can be done to protect Mother Earth and the beings that live on Mother Earth and the water, what are some of the things that you and the Fond du Lac Band, of which you're a member, and Water Legacy, of which you're a board member, are, and where you're serving, what are some things that we can do to protect the water and to protect Mother Earth?
I think some things that we can do collectively is to recognize and understand, are we a part of the problem or are we part of the solution? Some hard questions we've got to ask ourselves. And if we don't do those hard questions of each other, even constructive criticism is really something that needs to be looked at also. There are opportunities to engage in relationships with one another, and therein is the solution. Because in dialogue, not so much monologue, but dialogue with people that have differing views, and being in any community, you have to be respectful, and you've also got to be accountable. And sometimes to be held to account, you have to accept some constructive criticisms. So being in relationship and recognizing those divisions and why there is division in the world, religious divisions, ethnicity divisions, racial divisions, there's lots of divisions. We talk about united stuff, but there's not, we need to be united for life. And I think that's the important piece to recognize and identify. Thank you, Paula.
Then Lyman has a question.
First of all, thank you, Ricky, and also thank you, Paula, for all the service you give to the Water Legacy Project. Really appreciate it. My question is kind of related to what Paula just asked. I, in the past week, had an opportunity to spend some time with an Anishinaabe elder up on Mallard Island, and I want to convey the tremendous respect that you have for our Mother Earth, and it was just so fascinating. But is there a single most important thing that we as non-Indigenous folks can do to help promote the traditions, the customs, and the love of our land, the love of this earth, which we are ultimately destroying right now?
I think obligation comes to mind. We have obligation not only to ourselves and our children and those that are yet to be born, but more importantly, we have responsibilities. And we can't depend upon the government because they've been bought and paid for. There's what do they call that? The inverted totalitarianism. The corporations and all those have the power. So we can't depend upon the government to do it. We've got to do it locally and then have those models. So we develop a matrix of possibilities to happen for protection. But you have responsibilities, you have obligations. You have an obligation to teach the children. Oftentimes we in Anishinaabe country, we often teach and teach and teach, but mainstream dominant do not reteach those teachings. So we're always teaching. And so it is. And we start to teach our children, and they'll even to talk that around the table, their importance, and build from those, hanging with, chumming with people, and in relationship with people that think that way. And then they say in Anishinaabe is Zijuin, where things ripple out. Like when we drop that pebble in there and it starts to ripple out. So it is with our words in Wewin. Those are echoes, those are sound waves. Those are the things that happen in our cosmos. And this is our center of the universe. So we have opportunity, but recognizing obligations and responsibilities as a non-native person. So I think that scares a lot of people when I go, oh, I'm responsible for that. Well, yes, you are, for your immediate area right there. So collectively you can do that. Thank you, Wyman.
I know there are probably more questions, and those on Zoom, Mr. Defoe has agreed to stick around, and if you have questions, the people on Zoom will have a chance to ask him in the chat room. But we do need to stop here. So thank you again very much, and thank you also for the work you do.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
The following video was recommended by Mr. Defoe. The song is Purify, written and performed by Liz Jacola. She created this video for the Water Legacy Minnesota Folk for Water online concert in December of 2021.
So this song I'm going to do is kind of an old song, but I redid it because I'm doing it in my basement. And it's about old traditions, but in today's light, because we're going through some changes, right? Some of the old things we don't really need to carry with us anymore, and some of the new things. And always, in all cultures, we bring this in ceremony. Whatever kind of ceremony that the people that you commune with do, you're doing ceremony. Even though maybe we're not with each other, we're still doing ceremony. So that's what this song's about. Keepers of the water, I am Nibi water, the sacred blood of Mother Earth. I fill all with life, bursting to creation's mirth. I am the womb's cradle. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. Nibi courses through our mother's veins, forever circles charge. Now hear my sorrow and my pain in the river's rush and the falling rain. I am your grandchildren's drink. I purify. Keepers of the fire, I am Shko without a fire. Your grandfather bringing light, bringing warmth and comfort, without which we'd perish. I am spirit's motion. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. Life gives life, which gives a promise of new life. Women carry new life in water before it wakens in the sun. We are connected, each and every one. Spirit, earth, water, fire, in never-ending ceremony. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. I purify. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also nice. It would suffice. I purify. 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 I purify.
We turn our attention now to the wider world as we take our offering. This month's share of the plate recipient is the Regenerative Agricultural Alliance. It was created in 2018 as a nonprofit to build a regenerative, equitable, and socially just agriculture sector. It's focused on scaling up a systems-level regenerative poultry solution that restores ecological balance, produces nourishing food, and puts money back into the hands of farmers and food chain workers. The reason regenerative agriculture has been preserved for everyone to access today is owed to Native peoples. Based on the values of humility, collectivism, and resilience, Indigenous thinking seeks to learn through observation and mold practices to the way nature actually works, to find balance and harmony between meeting our needs as humans and embracing the Earth's beautiful, marvelous, continually evolving flow of energy. You may contribute right now online by going to our website, uunorthfield.org, clicking on the yellow donate button on the right-hand column, and then selecting Share the Plate. Or you can make a check made payable to UUFN with offering basket written on the memo line. Separate checks marked UUFN Pledge are also welcome. If you are at our church building, please put cash or check, again made out to UUFN with offering basket on the memo line in the basket. As always, thank you for giving as you are able. I invite everyone here in the sanctuary to gather in a large circle as we prepare to sing our final hymn. If you do not wish to take hands of your neighbors, feel free to just let them know or cross your hands over your heart. These are still uncertain times for many of us. The closing words are from Amy Zucker Morgenstern. May all our hours together be blessed, as this one has been, by open-hearted sharing, learning from one another, and making beautiful harmonies together. And may we greet everyone we encounter with the same acceptance and grateful kinship until we meet again. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. Oh, got it. We ran out of oil. Okay. It is. You will see the words on your screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace.
And I can't remember anyone. She's such a delight. Well, for sure, I'll put down there, I'll have stuff with me. I just have to be available for the
Oh my God, these were delicious.
but
Which one's
some of them are little.
Those are banana, those are pumpkin.
I have some.
I will. Thank you very much. How are you?
I want them to come back. Okay, well, I'll hear to that, and then I have a meeting here. Next week, or the following week, and I'll tell her that there was a we haven't heard to school first.
Those devices are their grapes are shut, so she should actually not be feeling.
We can share on how they feel about things.